Join Hans and Scotty Thursday. That's today from noon to 3. RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. The Utah offense, PK. High hopes, lots of question marks. Kyle Whittingham has pumped up the offensive line. If you got a great offensive line, I suppose you can run just about anything behind it. Great offensive lines have been the key to great passing games, great running games. You get a great offensive line, dominate the line of scrimmage, good things usually follow.
Yeah.
Now Jason Beck shows up with a new offense, a new quarterback, a new running back who's not getting nearly as much run because of the new quarterback, but Parker figures to be a really important part of this equation.
He does.
Jason Beck asked about these issues and many others. Here's the University of Utah offensive coordinator with the media on the opening day of practice.
What have you seen from them that gives you hope coming into this fall?
Doug, who's been here the whole time Wed has, he does a phenomenal job in the weight room. Talked about how strong this group has been, how hard they've worked, and really likes where they're at. So that feedback from him, those comments are really promising that we got a really good group. They're working hard, they're bought in, and we got good leadership.
Spring ball is about, installing the offense. What is the next phase in fall camp in terms of your offense and getting it integrated with the guys?
You obviously need to be ready for all the situations that are going to be coming up, and it's really identifying who are the trustworthy guys, the playmaker guys. When you put those 11 guys together, all doing their different roles, who can you depend on and count on? So it's a matter of finding consistency. Who's showing up every day, consistently getting their job done. So we know we can count on them to put them out there for the game. So that's what you're trying to develop that and tease that out of who to count on when you put them out there.
The last 6 months, Devin's really taken some time to establish his foothold and leadership. I guess heading into fall camp as the offensive coordinator, just what are you looking for him to continue to make steps in establishing himself in the offense and so forth?
Yeah, just continuing to lead, both first by example, through his play, being that real consistent playmaker, doing the right things, and then being a good teammate, which means if you see something, you're not their friend, you're their teammate. Whether that's positively reinforcing what they're doing or whether that's asking them to live up to a different standard. And so Dev shows up every day and works hard. And he leads by example. And so just continue to do that and bring everybody else along and develop the chemistry with all those skill guys.
When it comes to QB2 spot, what are you looking for, and how quickly do you want to try to establish that?
Yeah, you're not too far away now from you start game planning UCLA and in the seasons here. And so we have 2 scrimmages along the way, and by the end of that second scrimmage, you would really like to have an idea, plan of here's what we're doing. And same thing, it's all about, who can you trust, who can you depend on, who's being consistent in that role. When their number's called, their opportunity comes up, who's going to be ready to take that on.
Tobias Merriweather and Larry Simmons were the 2 receivers that you brought in during the spring portal. How important are these next few weeks in getting them up to speed with the offense and their chemistry with Dampier?
Oh, it's really important to see what they can bring to this team to help this offense score points to win games. And so them, Bryce Duke, running back, has experiences in. So yeah, it's really these next 2 weeks, you're not making huge judgments right away because it's going to take a little time to settle in and get their rhythm and get going. But once you kind of see that thing turn, now you're looking at that feedback of how are they contributing, what can we count on them for, and to know how we can use them in the offense.
What led to your interest in your pursuit of them? What qualities do they possess that you think translates here?
We're looking for guys who can consistently win, get open, catch the ball. The more they can stretch the field or be versatile, play both outside and inside, is great, but it's all about who can consistently win, make plays, catch the ball to help move the chains and score points.
Kyle talked about this offense will be pretty similar to what you ran at New Mexico. How similar to that, and kind of what are you trying to do that's maybe different, or are you trying to do anything different?
We're still in that process of that playing out. For instance, when we started New Mexico last year, we had 5-6 skilled receivers that we thought were going to be some of our better players. And as we headed in that first game, that was kind of the trajectory we were on. Well, as we got early in the season, some of those guys were struggling to consistently make plays, and our running backs were way rising up in what they were doing, and so that thing shifted, in that course, and there became 2 receivers and a tight end that we really relied on, and then it was all these running back guys. And so the offense kind of molded more that direction. So, with the Devin and the O-line, that's the most predictable right now. It's the other spots that are more what direction is this going to take with the dependable playmaker, guys you trust, and kind of the offense molding, shifting that direction.
For fans that haven't seen it yet, how would you kind of describe your offensive philosophy?
We really just want to put the right guys in the right places to make plays. We want to adapt to what our strengths are and play to those strengths. Real eye test. We're going to go not at a fast tempo, but we're going no huddle. We're moving guys around, kind of spread. The QB reads and RPOs are in there. But year to year, that thing always shifts to who's your personnel and what are their strengths. And some years that's more passing, some years that's more running. So, that thing will vary because we want to play to our strengths.
When you have a star receiver or a star running back, it's pretty easy to feature them in the offense. It seems like you've got 2 star offensive tackles. How do you go about featuring your offensive line and their strengths as players?
Yeah, we look at the quarterback first and we look at the O-line second of what they can do. And the O-line's obviously a strength. Specifically with the tackles, man, they're athletic. So you can do things with your tackles where you utilize that athleticism that you may not do with other guys. So, getting them out on the edges and screens to block in space, having them pull in the run game, to add to your run scheme. So using their athleticism to block the second level, to block on the perimeter, is something you want to take advantage of.
You guys moved Otto Tia to tight end towards the tail end of spring. What kind of led to that change, and what are you looking for him to do, as fall camp gets ready to open?
He's kind of this hybrid guy that has good size, and he's 220, and he's big, strong receiver. So we know the flexed out in the slot outside stuff is going to be natural for him. So we thought, let's move him to the tight end room so we can develop more of those things that he's not as experienced at. Knowing from that room, we can always flex him out and do stuff. But to have him in the outside receiver room and then try to move him inside to do things, a little different. So that was just the kind of have him in that room as a home base to expand his versatility and how he can help.
How much is
In the spring, you said Wayshawn was limited. I guess where is his health at, and do you expect him to be full go for?
Yeah, he's healthy. He's had a really good summer and ready to go. Yeah.
How much does Nate Johnson change this offense for you?
Well, that's going to be part of this discovery of how consistent playmaking, what is he bringing at a high level, because he definitely has some juice, speed, and can do unique things. So we definitely want to utilize that, take advantage of it, and discover, how much and in what ways and all of those things that we can count on at a high level, more than just kind of a gimmicky thing here or there.
Last season, Devin ran a lot and also passed a lot. Is there a development that you're looking for, maybe to have him be more pass first or maybe more run first? Walk me through your thinking on that. Just him individually, he'll continue to progress and develop and is really capable. So this is not a thing where we were running him more because he was not capable as a passer. It was just, and he'll continue to develop that way. It was really just the
the pieces around him and what we could do led to him being more involved in the run game. Certain times in the season, we had some critical injuries, and so he became, if it's 4th and 2, who do you trust most to get this thing? And with a couple, there's a spot where in the car he was out with a high ankle sprain. In a couple of those games, no, you absolutely knew Devin would get you the first, so you called his number a little more. So it's just kind of dictated by, the matchup, health, all those things.
Two more here.
Dev talked a lot about just improving his decision making. Now that he's been here for 6 months, have you seen any improvements in that and just turnover ratio or just how he's reading the offense?
It's hard to put a total thing on that right now because spring was so new with all the skill guys getting on the same page.
Right.
So we'll kind of see where it picks up, in fall camp. But no, that's what it's all about, right? It's all about being a dynamic player, being a playmaker, and protecting the ball because that dictates winning at such a high rate. So just going forward that way.
You talked about what Larry and Tobias brings to the wide receiver room. What does Bryce bring to this running back room now that he's joined?
Based off the film, it'd be great to see him and get him, but based off the film, he brings an element catching the ball out of the backfield. He's proven where he's done that in the past. And then his running skill set, he can, he has some juice, so he can pretty good quickness and spring it. So being able to put him in situations to use, I wouldn't say he's quite half running back, half slot receiver, but he has a little more of that receiving quality than the typical running back does. And so being able to see what he can do with those skill sets.
There's Utah offensive coordinator Jason Beck. So many questions about what this offense is going to look like, and he makes it clear it'll be a work in progress into October. Talking about last year, adjustments had to be made. He thought there were some receivers who could make plays. It turned out there were more running backs who could make plays. So he featured the running backs more as the season went along.
Yeah, but he was new at New Mexico.
It will evolve. He's new at Utah.
Oh, you got me there.
It's like this seems too easy. I'm not used to you setting me up.
Yeah, it's wait and see. And if you're a Ute fan, obviously you're hoping for great things. And I think there's a possibility of it. But, I want to see. That's why the intrigue this year. And as I said the other day, Utah should be so grateful for the transfer portal. I don't care if they lose 50 guys. Because I think without the transfer portal, without Beck and Dampier coming over, it would have been, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? And it would have been more of the same and hope for better, just simply through the days go by. Now you've totally revamped everything, and it's brought such a new energy throughout the football program and the perspective of the fan base. They're all excited, and they came from a place where it was such a downer during all of November and most of October as we realized what was the reality of the situation, and that's all changed because of the transfer portal. And with that, the excitement level is night and day. It's just incredible.
It's energized everything.
It has. It's energized me.
You were gone, and you don't read The Athletic, but they did a ranking with the anonymous quotes they love to do, where they'll go to people in other programs and get quotes. And there was we were talking quarterbacks while you were out, and there was a little pushback, as you might expect. Oh, the local media is getting excited about Dampier. It's the national media. They ranked Dampier 25th out of 136 starting quarterbacks. That was the good news for the Utes. The bad news was that made him 7th in the Big 12.
No problem with either of those.
The Athletic thinks what you were talking about at Big 12 Media Days and what we've been talking about since you came back, and probably talking about it before you went to the Big 12 Media Days. The Big 12's loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's obvious.
And they had 6 of them in the top 24, and Dampier was 7th, and there were a couple more right behind him. I mean, it was like they had good things to say about 10 quarterbacks in the league.
A kid who ran for 1,100 and passed for 2,500, whatever there was there, why wouldn't you be excited? Does that mean he's going to be able to translate it here? I'm not sure, but that's the exciting part of it. If it were a guarantee, there would be no intrigue. And it's all in the unknown of what's it going to be because it is brand new. That's the exciting part of it. It's not boring. Utah, obviously last year as the season went on, was boring, and their own fans will acknowledge that, and they couldn't wait for the season to get over. People weren't going to some of the games. I know people were literally saying, "Do you want tickets? I don't want to go." And I think that has the opportunity to change. To what degree? And I've got no problem saying, to an extent, I'm a homer because I want it better than last year. I don't have any personal interest in the team being good. It's more for the show and the station that we thrive as a station, and all the media thrives. I mean, every single last one of them thrives. I mean, I want everybody to have success in their jobs, and with a team that wins, you go a long way towards that. And so, yeah, I want it to happen. Tell me right now, BYU versus Utah in the conference title game, I sign off on it. Absolutely. Because it would be awesome for work.
No, that would be epic.
Yeah, it would. It would be incredible. I think it would be great for the Big 12, too.
Yeah.
They'd have double stuff to hang your hat on because people, you follow football to any degree, you certainly know the BYU-Utah rivalry and the craziness that's involved there. And I'm looking for that. Will it happen? Will Utah's offense be prolific? I don't know. I think so. Maybe not prolific, but be good. My standard is good enough to be in contention for first or second as each week checks off in November. That's my standard. Can they do that?
That's the old Lavelle Edwards standard right there.
Yeah.
Borrowing from a great one.
Because if you're not in contention and you're just fighting for bowl eligibility, well, that's a whole other story. But if you're in contention, those games, all four of them, become gigantic. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. They're huge. And that's what it's about. That's you can talk playoff, you can talk whatever you want, but you've got to take care of the business in the conference to be able to get that. So clearly that's the most important thing.
How far could the Utes go, though? How far can they ride an O-line, a quarterback, and a running back? I mean, it was clear listening to Jason Beck right there. Decisions to be made at wide receiver and tight end. They need guys to step up and make plays, and he's not 100% sure who those people are because if he was, he would name them the same way he names his quarterback and his running back because he's pretty confident in those two.
Well, he's new and they're new.
Yep.
The O-line is not new. They're all returning, and he is returning with Dampier. And Parker has got a level of a resume to an extent to believe in, okay, should be good there. So they're going to have some people do something. You just can't go with nothing over there, those positions. But I believe it's good enough to be in contention in November.
Kyle Whittingham's teams haven't needed a lot from those positions. And they have gotten quite a bit from tight end. We shouldn't undersell that.
Tight ends have really exploded in recent years because they've been very good. They've been NFL tight ends.
Yeah.
And that's why they've been very good, because they were literally, in the case of one, a first-round pick. And if Keefe could have had some good breaks, he could have been right there. But he kept, unfortunately for him, had two major injuries. That sucks big time for the young man. But they have had production there. I don't know how it's going to play out in those positions. I'm pretty confident in the other positions, but I don't know. My standard is to have them be in that contention in November. And the schedule, it's extremely manageable. You close with Kansas. You can beat them. You can lose to them too. It's not a surprise. Kansas State, you could beat them. You can lose to them. I'm going from last to the end of November upward. And then Baylor, you could beat them and you can lose to them. Cincinnati, I think you win that game. Those are your 4 games in November. The other 3, put them, those are toss-ups. As a fan, that's great. It's fun. That's what it's about, man. To have that, what's going to happen today? And we'll have that. Check them off all the way down, starting November 1st. Cincinnati, I think they get that. But then going down to Baylor the following week?
No telling.
Yeah, Baylor's expected to be good.
DJ and PK, when we come back, Utah defense coordinator Morgan Scalley talking about his defense next. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present?
This is JJ and Alex.
We're seeing people talk about Utah. The vibe has been last year was an outlier for what we typically get from Kyle Whittingham, right?
How do they address the offensive issues? When's the last time Utah had a offense that's had 7 rushing touchdowns in a season? So you can understand how important it was to address this offensive situation, and I feel like what you're seeing right now is people like Joel Klatt and others look at what they did and what they did to address the offense, hiring Jason Beck, and brings that quarterback with him, and you're thinking, okay, you take that offense, you plug them into this team with that defense, just that alone is going to get you a winning season.
Right.
The question is now going to be, can Devin Dampier improve his passing stats and numbers to take Utah from flipping it to a winning team to a championship team?
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, we just heard from Jason Beck, Utah offensive coordinator. We're going to hear from Fesi Sataki in the BYU passing game. He's the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. But right now, PK, after all that talk about the offense, it's time to talk about the defense. Morgan Scalley, University of Utah defensive coordinator, with the media right here on the Zone.
What might still be top of mind come fall, and you mentioned depth at corner and defensive tackle. Obviously, you haven't been on the field yet, but where do you feel you are there?
Same spot. That's good. Very good.
Way to set him up.
Yeah. But, good to have a couple, few new D tackles, Dylan Battle, transferring from LSU, Pupu Sepulona, Semi Taulanga. So those bodies will help out a lot in the depth category. Now it's just a matter of developing them and seeing who can play right away. The good thing is we're not having to do much physically with them. Their weight's where it needs to be. It's just learning the defense.
What led to your pursuit of Dylan Battle in the transfer portal outside of just the need of depth?
Well, depth, the relationship he had with a former teammate, and he was being let go. It was also an opportunity to look at something. He was coming off an injury, and we felt like we could be pretty aggressive in the treatment of it, that we could get him going right away. So there are a few things there, but obviously the relationship we had with his coaching staff back in high school, and then his relationship with Nate.
When you look at fall camp, how do you want to approach it in terms of trying to get guys aggressive, kind of get them ready, but also still kind of save some for the season?
Yeah, it's a physical sport. You got to be able to practice tackling. I think a few years ago when we played Florida, first time we played Florida at their place, we tried to dial it down physically, and we missed a ton of tackles in that game, and it exposed us a little bit. So yes, we want to get to the first game healthy, and we're spacing out the practices and the periods in a way that we feel like we're being smart with their health, but at the same time, as a physical sport, you got to practice physicality, you got to be able to tackle and do the things that football players do.
Your defensive end room looks noticeably different, obviously in terms of the faces, but also just leaner builds, more athleticism. Has that been a point of emphasis this offseason, increasing the athleticism?
Not necessarily. I would say getting stronger, definitely. You're always looking for speed off the edge. This is, again, a point I've talked about before. I'm much more focused on a productive, efficient pass rush than sacks. If I'm hitting a quarterback, if I'm being disruptive, then you're forcing him to get rid of the ball quicker than he wants to. So I felt like we did a pretty good job of that last year. Obviously, the sack count wasn't what it was in previous seasons, but I felt like we were effective at getting to the quarterback. I like the depth that we have there. I think that we've gotten better. Coach Powell's done a great job of developing that group, and it's going to be a competitive fall camp for those guys.
You guys added a pair of corners also in the portal, JC Hart and Jalen Mosin. What do they bring to this corner room?
We'll find out. JC obviously has a ton of speed. He was a track guy out of high school, had shown that at Auburn, the speed and the fluidity that we were looking for. He's got to continue to make sure that he's doing everything he can to be healthy, with shoulder and everything. But and then Mosen obviously provides some quickness, some athleticism. So those are two guys that need the development as well. But we would not have gone that route if we didn't feel like we could use them right away.
You've seen a lot of offensive looks in your tenure, but what does it mean to have a guy like Devin Dampier who can kind of make things just different to kind of help your defense? Athletic quarterbacks just cause issues, particularly when you're going to use them in a dedicated quarterback run game. It's one thing for him to just pull it on his own, escape the pocket, things break down, and he's able to make plays just with his legs on his own. But when there's a dedicated run package, or that you as a defensive coordinator really have to focus on, okay, how are we going to add a guy in the box? How are we going to take care of the quarterback in the run game? It really forces you to practice that. So he provides both. He can, if you're going to 4-man rush the kid, he does a great job of understanding when things break down, when to take off, but they also have a very good dedicated QB run game.
At the beginning of spring, you talked about having an emphasis on more havoc plays this season. How do you feel that went in the spring, and then how is that work going to continue going on into the fall?
I felt like havoc plays were a strong emphasis in spring. I felt like we did a really good job of it. The takeaways were really good. That's got to continue in fall camp. The studies have shown us that your takeaways come from. Your number one takeaway in the Big 12 last year was an interception in zone coverage. It's zone eyes. It's quarterbacks forcing things into windows. The second was interceptions in man coverage, which man coverage, usually that's more of an incompletion coverage. Your completion percentage goes down. And so the majority of interceptions you see there are tipped passes, free safety coming over the top. And then, so the next thing that you're looking at is forced fumbles from the second guy in, not the first guy in, second guy in. So there's certain takeaways, certain aspects of takeaways that you can practice. Zone drops, catching a football, including footballs in your drill work. And then a focus on second guy in, how to strip the ball, how to take care of the ball, how to go down, how to recover a ball in traffic versus how to recover a ball in space, right? And so those are the things that we have to do a really good job of. The things that you can practice in terms of takeaways, you better be practicing. And I feel like we're doing a good job of that.
You talked about completion percentage, in coverage. Smith Snowden allowed, I think, like 40% in coverage. Teo Johnson was also really good. What's going to be the key for them becoming more playmakers on the ball and getting those takeaways?
It's just a matter of making the plays. There's a couple times last year where Teo's got the ball right there, can make a play, didn't make the play. And so it's just a matter of making the play. He's got the athleticism, he's got the ability. We just got to be able to make the play. So again, drill work where they're flipping, finding the ball, right? Look, lean, locate drills on the sideline when you're working fades. Vertical routes, jumping in front of the vertical route, when to steal, when to strike. Right, there comes a time where you have to make that decision as a safety. Am I going to be able to get to the ball? If not, strike him. If I can get there, steal it. So again, drill work is a big part of that.
In spring, you had talked about you guys just weren't good enough in stopping the run. How do you feel like you can change that this year? What is the personnel like? How do you kind of get to that point?
Some of it was technique. Some of it was missed tackles. So again, we got to be able to tackle better. The not throwing shoulders, making sure that we understand proper tackling technique, and then proper technique in maintaining gaps. A bunch of the big hitters were guys not maintaining their gaps, and that's just an alignment assignment deal.
There's Morgan Scalley talking about the defense at the University of Utah. Better against the run, more takeaways. Only forced 18 turnovers last year, kind of in the middle nationally. Want to be up with the leaders.
Well, I think last year you had offenses on the opposition knowing we don't need to take many chances because the only way we're going to lose this game
is to take chances and make negative plays.
Yeah, and let their defense score 17 or put them in a position to score 17 points. So I think that is a direct cause and effect deal on the offense not being good enough. Certainly by the time you got to Halloween, everybody knew, hey, just take care of the ball against these guys and you are going to win most likely, and that's exactly what happened. So I wouldn't be too alarmed on that. I know they'll go through everything, the possible studies up, inside, outside, and up and down to figure out their ways to get better. I mean, this is their jobs, and they do it to a very detailed level. But I don't necessarily have a concern about that too much.
Can they turn that 18 into 25? Because if you force 25 turnovers, usually top 20 in the country. Then you got an advantage.
That's why the thing that became the catchphrase, certainly last year, if not before, the phrase complimentary football has taken on a life of its own. And there's a lot of factual information involved in there and how a defense plays your offense based on your offense playing their defense, right? It only makes sense.
Yep.
So their offense has to put some points up to make sure that other offense on the
has
opposition
to take some chances.
Yeah, and you didn't really have to last year. Just run your basic stuff and you should be okay. And most of them were. I mean, when they had a 7-game losing streak, something like that.
Yep. Get your 20 points, and you got a great chance of beating Utah last year.
Yeah, it was snooze city. I mean, we could go another 50 years without seeing another season like that. Yeah. And my guess is we won't see a season like that, particularly this year, and then we'll see where we go after that.
All right, DJ and PK coming up, 9 o'clock. Fesi Sataki, BYU passing game coordinator, coach, and wide receivers coach. We will talk with him about the Cougars and their ability to pick a quarterback and then throw the football. That's on the way at the top of the hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
You know, I've been hearing people tell quarterbacks to run less forever, but then all of a sudden they turn into below average quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The reason that they're D1 starting quarterbacks is because they run.
Yes.
You can say, hey, we're going to need you to go out there and sling it and hand it off more, but that's not what makes him good. That's not why he's the quarterback at the University of Utah. He's the quarterback at the University of Utah because he can throw well enough and he ran for 1,200 yards. He's capable of that. I mean, get ready for it. I think the coaches are cheering for him to have 1,200 yards, I would guess.
Huh.
Yeah, why not? Go be dynamic. Go get 1,200 yards for a quarterback.
Yeah, of course. If you
Think
do
Michael Vick in college.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. If he is getting 100 yards a game on the ground and can do anything through the air.
Hey, we're going to need you to be less productive, pal. No, come on, that's crazy.
No,
They're absolutely rooting for that to happen.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Feel great. I mean, surgery that I had, bouncing back for that is like, I'm hungry for it.
Right.
I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to catch 1,500 yards this year. I want to touch that 1,000 for sure. Okay. Yeah.
That's it, huh?
Yes. Coming here is a special place for me. One of the running backs that came out of my high school, Devontae Booker, made 1,000 yards, and I want to top that for sure.
Mountain Supply will be with Hans and Scotty Friday to talk about the Valley View Open Golf Tournament that raises thousands for the Giving Hope Foundation. Look forward to that coming up on Friday. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. PK, we just heard the guarantee. 1,000 yards. Holding himself accountable. Wayshawn Parker, Utah
I think it's
running
a
back.
soft guarantee because I think it's almost a guarantee that he does get it.
They've only
So
been,
it's not an outrageous statement by him. It's a legitimate goal. And I would say if you just, and I don't think he has this, but if you just said 1,000, that would be underselling it.
There have only been a couple times in the last decade that the Utes haven't had a 1,000-yard back. Obviously, when Zach Moss was here, he was doing it every year.
The only thing he needs is health. That's
Yes.
it. That is exclusively it.
If he's healthy, 85 yards a game and 1,000 yards seems like a gimme.
I agree. I really believe it is.
Now, 1,500 yards, that'd get your attention, wouldn't it?
I think he's got a shot, man. You know, depending on how much they're going to give him the ball. If he proves himself durable, then I think that's legit.
125 yards a game. Go get it. And that's we're looking at a 12-game number. We'll see how many games they actually play. Obviously, that number can go higher.
Well, I think he can get it into 12 games.
Right.
Yeah. I like his confidence. He should. You know, he came here with Ottawaya, the running backs coach up there from Washington State, for specific reasons. And those reasons are going to be on display. They knew what they were getting. He knew what he's getting into. To me, it's not much of a mystery or surprise.
Coach believes in player, player believes in coach.
I think we will see it unfold exactly like Ute fans anticipate.
Run it some more. Wayshawn will get his carries. Dampier will get his carries, and we'll see who else gets carries along the way.
Right. I mean, if he treats an ankle or something, some of that might limit him, but I don't anticipate that. He is standing next to him. He's a solid kid body-wise. And so, what can he do? My thing to see for him is how many tackles can he just run through and blow off, and what is his ability to get extra yards, the yards after contact.
Run violently, Kyle Whittingham will say in the postgame.
Yeah.
He loves that expression.
I don't know that he's necessarily a speed guy, put him on the edge and do those types of things. But that's where I'm wondering what they've got in Nate Johnson. Because he's super fast, but it doesn't seem like they have a defined role for him. I was surprised he came back.
Well, number one, weren't we all? Because guys don't usually come back. And it isn't clear that he's the quarterback. Is he a receiver?
Well, he's not the quarterback. I can tell you that much.
And he's not the backup quarterback either.
What is he? Right. Well,
so he's running fly sweeps. What is he doing?
I don't know.
Slot receiver?
I want to see.
Some kind of Britton Covey role?
Because I thought his speed last time around was underutilized.
Agreed.
He's just got some mop-up time. And get him in the open field. And he's a speed burner there. And it would be a shame not to use him. And you can use him in different ways. Maybe they can put him in a wildcat type situation and have him run. Although it's hard-pressed to be better the runner than Dampier. But maybe just give him a different look for the defense to keep them honest. And then, if they show it in first 3 games, then the defenses in the conference may have to prepare for it, particularly that first game. Because that first game, it's funny, and I'm just going to totally contradict myself because the evidence will show. But last year, and I was there in Stillwater, we pointed to that 4th game as if it was the telltale sign that everything was going to happen. You had the 2 big dogs in the conference, or 2 of them.
We thought.
If not the 2 biggest.
We thought.
And the winner of that would not have a leg up, man. It would have more, whatever is more than a leg, it would have it.
And the Utes won it, and they went to 4-0 and 1-0.
And I was fired up.
And then they lost 7 straight games.
Yeah, that's a shocker of all shocks. None of us, literally no one on the planet and in the galaxy would have thought that. So what am I going to do with that in mind? I'm going to build up the first conference game this year against Texas Tech like it's the biggest thing ever.
Nice.
Just like I did last year, and that turned out to be ridiculous. I love having takes that are very strong only to be ridiculous to the point where you can't even argue. That was ridiculous. But I'm going to do it again.
There's no reason to learn lessons.
What am I, a fool? Is that the definition? Am I insane?
Sure. What do you got to lose?
I know I'm nuts, but am I insane? I'm crazy. I'm loco. But it just seems to me that those are 2 good teams that are going to be in contention. And if Texas Tech gets a road win, I can't remember who told me, but they used to root for the home teams to win because they didn't want the road teams to get an advantage.
Well, I remember people talking about that, and the person I remember talking about that is Dave Rose as a basketball thing.
It was a basketball thing.
And Dave Rose used to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe it was him.
Somebody asked him about the standings once. He says, I don't care who's 4-0. Right now, I think teams are +1 or -1 based on whether they've won or lost home games.
And I think it's harder to win a road game in college basketball.
Yeah, he says
some
of these teams are getting fed 4 road games out of 5 to start the season. Others have 4 home games out of 5.
Right.
He says it all evens out. You can't overreact early on. So he was a big +1, -1 guy.
But that is a big game for both teams. The winner can puff out its chest a little bit. Doesn't mean a whole lot if you don't follow it up. But I think that is a little bit of a peak because I think Texas Tech, I picked Texas Tech to finish first, which to me, that's a big accomplishment, and that ought to be taken into more consideration than it is. We sort of blow that off and go to the next week after the 9 games are done and who won. That, even though the Devils won last year, and great, so puff my chest out, but you just played 9 games, and then you get down to 1 game, and they cause some turnovers, the ball bounces their way, and they blow out Iowa State. Well, good for them. But I think the committee, and especially the ones that, deciding the playoff brackets and all, you should take into consideration 9 games.
Well, they did. SMU got in, and there was speculation.
BYU didn't.
Speculation about whether they would or they wouldn't. Right. But they finished, SMU, didn't they finish alone in first place? BYU was in a 4-way
but then they
tie.
lost.
Yeah. So they didn't let it all hang on that conference title game.
I think that,
they took into consideration
and I'm fine
first
with
place.
that. I'm fine with that. But the problem is that they had the head-to-head matchup.
Yep.
But nevertheless, your point is made. I think winning a regular season conference title
is hard.
Should be celebrated. Yeah. That should be a plaque, or when they put the conference titles up on the press box wall or wherever, that should be put up there because that's a heck of an accomplishment. So I picked Texas Tech. The reality is, though, you got to win it the next week to get in, or at least to assure yourself of getting in. And I think probably this year with the 12-team format, we'll only see one again. We'll have to see about, when it expands, where they go with that. That remains to be seen. So I do believe that winner on that first game, I love that game. That's a power game right there. Right off the bat.
Texas Tech, with all that money they spent on all those transfers.
Yeah.
And they've been solid. So now the thinking is this should elevate them. We'll see if that plays out.
In my mind, it will. I view Texas Tech in the manner of, will they win 4 in a row, 5 in a row? Probably not. Will they be in contention for 4 in a row, 5 in a row? Probably yes. Because sometimes football comes down, Broncos talked about this, to a play or two, and they make it, you don't, or you make it, they don't. And so you get out of there with it. When I was talking to somebody yesterday about this very thing, I'm always leery of teams that won a bunch of close games being able to repeat it the next season.
Yeah, it's funny because we were just talking about turnovers. You were leery of teams that forced a lot of turnovers a year ago because there can be, the tip ball that hangs in the air just long enough for the safety to get there versus the one that doesn't quite hang in the air long enough for the safety to get there.
But I think in turnovers, you have to look at a much bigger sample than last year. What is your defense known for? That's what I said the other day about I'm a big identity guy.
Yeah, there are styles. There are teams that play for the turnovers.
Who
and there
was
are
it?
teams
Peace
that
loved the 4 and a score.
4 and a score.
Yeah.
Which then, when they weren't getting turnovers last year and they were talking about that, and I can't remember which defensive player I asked, I said, have you ever heard the phrase 4 and a score? He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like that just went away. And then Morgan and spring balls, we're bringing it back.
Well, that was me down in Tempe on a given weekend.
Really? 4 and a score, huh? Yak throws us right to break. That's it.
Well, we got to 9 o'clock and it went off the rails. So.
Oh, that's not off the rails. Come on.
Fessy Sataki, BYU passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach, talking with PK and I about the Cougars in transition on offense. New set of receivers coming in. Obviously got Chase back, but what about everybody else who's going to step up? And analyzing the different traits of the 3 quarterbacks as they throw the ball to the receivers he coaches. Fessy Sataki coming up next. Stay with us.